Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. August 28th, where did the summer go? Classes start next week. I don't know how that will happen. There are 2 points in the agenda, Roman numeral 4, based on questions you may have on the agenda, and then at the end, any questions you may wish to ask with regards to the board or Mr. Brosdale. We will have a PowerPoint from the superintendent as part of the superintendent's report. We ask you, this is a larger room. I think we can hear, so please stand though if you have a question. We ask that you limit your comments to about 2 minutes. Refrain from reading statements and refrain from using staff, student names, only because that renders the privilege that may be accorded to them violated. And if you have something that relates to a particular person or student, you can always come up afterwards and speak with the superintendent or the board afterwards. Let's start with the approval of the minutes. Pete?
Number 3, approval of the minutes. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent and board of education hereby accepts the minutes of the July 1st, 2019 reorganization regular meeting and the August 5th, 2019 special meeting as submitted.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor? You notice I did it out of order so that we can get away with the procedural material, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Brosdale with regards to the superintendent's report.
Okay, would the board join me below, please, just for a short report?
Thank you.
Update. Ken, how many times do I push that button?
Till it goes on, 2 times, typically. 1, yeah, that looks like it.
I don't know how to work the legs in this one, so you're on your own.
It'll get there.
It'll get it. Good evening, everybody. I could have sworn August 28th with the weather it wouldn't be somewhat well attended, but I'm glad that it is. Thank you for coming out. This was a quick and certainly a memorable and challenging summer, and I'm sure you understand why. I sent out my letter last Friday explaining what the leadership structure is going to be on an interim or acting basis. And I'll try to explain, not in great detail, but something about the process and how it happened that the letter didn't speak about. The current structure. Now, the board and I interviewed outside candidates who have proven records as principals, some as principal and superintendent, because the original thought was we don't really want to disrupt the system with 5 weeks before the kids came back, the teachers came back. Maybe it's a good idea to keep it the way it is. So we had a committee and we interviewed interim or acting people, and we found some good candidates. But we also wanted to look at who was there on the inside, because the thought is when the students and teachers come back, do they want to see a strange face that they don't really know? I might know a lot about them, but the staff has to believe in the person who's leading the meetings and leading the school. So on the internal candidates, we interviewed quite a few, spoke to them. Some initially thought they could jump at the position, but I could tell you this. Number one, as you understand, it's very challenging under the conditions of coming in. who you're following, and on such short notice. The impulse might be saying, sure, I could take it, I could do that job, but when you never have, you're going to think about what the high school principalship is, and it's difficult and more challenging. I've done it 5 years myself, and I do know what it's like to be in that seat. Just one minor note, your discipline's very different, more serious, your discussions with parents, and your knowledge of curriculum. Rob Grable handled most of the observations that went towards the teacher ratings, and it's many nights out and a lot of time. When I was principal, I added up my 1 year, it was 88 nights out with events. So, someone might think about that quick and say, yeah, I'll go for it. Then they go home and talk to their family, and they realize what that was laying ahead this year and saying, you know, I got a sick relative, or I have this in my family plan, I have that. And plus you're calling people who might be out on their boat or golf course, and they're kind of enjoying that time, and they look and reflect on what it will really take, what kind of commitment. So, not only do we look at outside people to keep the structure sound and our thought least disruptive, and we went through a lot of people, offered them the position. Some initially said yes, and then we got a response, an email after deep discussions with their family. They respectfully declined. That happened with a few of the folks internally. And so what we did, came up with another scenario which makes sense. And he's sitting here tonight, and I need to thank Pete for stepping up in this role and taking the responsibility to do it. Pete Prometaris is right over there. You understand the difficulty of coming in, but here's the good part. And Tim Izzo's right over here, who's a high school staff member, excellent teacher. And so he verified what the board thought with coming in today. Sure, there's some possibilities within the building that could have taken that role, but that didn't happen because it wasn't right, the right time in the lives of those people personally. So we approached them. Again, we had in reserve an intern from the outside, well-proven record and highly respected. But Pete, moving up the middle school principal to the high school principalship is a pretty normal thing. Then, he didn't brag about it much, but we looked at Pete's record. He taught high school for 10 years, was a dean in high school for 2, and was an AP in the high school for 5. So with his high school experience, in another world, if Rob weren't here, he had the background to go for a principalship. So again, Pete, I thank you for stepping up. And look, as with all the candidates and people we thought about, it wasn't an easy thing for Pete to say yes. And had a long talk with his wife and made me sweat it out for a long time. Long time, Pete. But happily he said yes, and I saw the teachers come out of the meeting this morning, and it's good to see smiles. Okay, so we'll support the high school and the high school staff the best we can this year through this whole experience. I was just asked a question before. Pete and Elizabeth Hine, who's an acting principal in the middle school, and I was asked at our 5th grade meeting yesterday. It's for a year, okay? Now, we weren't going to post Rob's position because there's nothing out there right now. I can't tell you how many principals we're looking for, how many school districts are looking for a principal candidate, and they weren't there, especially now. Port Jeff, I'm very close to them. As a matter of fact, at Rob's wake, they were there, and we spoke about their search. It was 3 weeks old, and they had no one. The last moment, they found an AP from Plainview Old Bethpage. So we weren't going to post around January. So Pete's got his shot. I'm sure he's going to apply for principalship. Anyway, the permanent position. So we have a lot of times to watch what's going on, but it's for a year. He and Elizabeth are in these positions. No more disruption. They will be there. Okay? That was a popular question yesterday. As we say interim, how long is the interim? It's for a year. If Pete doesn't like it, there's also, they're on a leave of absence, they have a right to return to their position. And that's important as they bring up the next person. Now, Elizabeth, as she told the parents yesterday at the 2 fifth grade meetings, she taught 5th grade. She was a middle school AP for years, as well as the elementary AP. So again, thinking, who knows the staff and the students where they come in and they feel comfortable at the beginning of the year. And she has spent many years in this district and kind of deserves a shot in that seat. See what she can do. So she will be there for a year as well. And then because they are acting, we didn't want to hire in the elementary for that position, because what if someone did return to their position at the end of the year? Or if Elizabeth said, I want to come back to the elementary school, then we'd have to excess somebody, we'd have to cut them, let them go. So we did hire an intern in the elementary school. Let me tell you a little bit about it. This is only, it's hard for you to see, but I'll point some things out. This gentleman, Brian McCarthy, already, if any of you are elementary parents who met him, he just got it right away. He's, this is half his resume, but I emphasize the elementary experience this gentleman has. On one of the lines, you'll see that he was a successful principal in South Country from 1988 to 2005, 17 years in that seat. He's got some very amusing stories about things he did there too. He's a great, gregarious man, great guy. I know the work that he did in Middle Country. He did 4 interim replacements in Middle Country alone in principal seats last year. I was speaking to the superintendent, William Floyd, today, who was an elementary principal in 05-06 before he was the assistant super elementary. And he goes, who did you get for the elementary spot? I said, he goes, he's a great guy, did a great job with Floyd for a year for us. So everybody I talked to, when I stole him from Middle Country, they probably need him right now, he's with us. He's been on the job for 2 days, and he fits in beautifully. But look, you look at the position, what he's done. He worked with me in Middle Country. I didn't know him, he was in elementary, but he's a special ed teacher. Then, as some of you might know, they go through directors of special ed like crazy and assistants. So he did that, those jobs, and it was 17 years. He explained why he had to retire, we understood, health benefits, things of that nature. But this is half of it, and that's his elementary school experience, and he did a year as superintendent. Great guy, loves doing elementary, that's his world. He's a great complementary opposite foil for Mr. Kaplan, and it's working out great. So we feel good about this. We're ready to open school, ready to go, and give it a shot. Pete slid right over to the high school, and Mr. LaBianca, Mr. Dyroff had things going well and in place. Pete knows them, knows many of the staff. He certainly knows the kids coming up. The 9th graders is like an extension. And the kids all went through there. Same thing can be said for the middle school. As they leave the elementary and come into the middle, they have Elizabeth Hyndman. So it makes a lot of sense to have a leader they know, to come to with. Kids know the face, parents know the face. And the last few days, what I've observed, everything is going very well. Okay? And again, Pete and Elizabeth have my support. And I thank both of them for stepping up. To change the subject, we did a lot of hiring this year. Strange that 3 speech teachers all retired at the same time, and we had to fill the spots. There were 2 up there, Jen Takis, who did a lot of leaves for us, as the 3rd. But if you look, we have speech, Abramowski, at the high school and middle school, a great science teacher, Allison Elfrith, and on the other side, you might know the name Kulik in the district, Gary Kulik, math teacher extraordinaire, and this is his daughter, who I helped get hired in William Floyd, and then I stole her from him. But she's really good. And then you have special ed teacher, Stephanie Gully. She's worked for us before. And the reason why we have phys ed up there, that's only a .6, that's not a full-time job because of declining enrollment, which is Monica's favorite subject in this district. The position went from .8 to .6. Brandon Loomis, an extremely popular coach and teacher here in the district, and I'm not making this up, got a job as a policeman in Hawaii. I'm not making that up. I can't tell you what one parent said to me on the phone, said her reaction. I can't repeat it. So I was lying. But anyway, I don't know why Brian would take that Hawaiian police job when he could have half a job here. I have no understanding at all. But we wish Brandon luck. Maybe he'll get a series on TV. Aloha Brandon, I don't know. Aloha Loomis. So Michael Comer is an alumnus of Mount Sinai. He's a great guy. Loves the job, does a lot of coaching out east. So he's looking forward to joining us for the .6. I mentioned Hewlett, Melissa Rooney, special education teacher, elementary, and Erin White, speech teacher. So we did some hiring. We got that place in spring. We knew they were coming up. It's part of our plan. And thanks to the board, we know who's going to retire for the next 3 years and who we're going to have to replace. The only thing we watch is enrollment to see if that person has to be replaced and that position has to be replaced. Now this is stuff going on too, if you're wondering what was going on around the school and the building and all the noise. Well, those are the old bleachers you knew one time sat on. They were taken down. Now if you remember the plan, and listen to me last year, remember when the new turf field went in and the track, we didn't have time to do the bleachers or press box. So we had to wait, and time goes quickly, as Bob mentioned, and right after graduation, they would have been ready, would have interfered with spring sports and graduation, so right after graduation they started demolishing the old bleachers, and if you've seen them, they're bigger, they seat more. Those bleachers on the right seat 1,026 feet. The press box looks more legit, like the press box, versus the other one that we had up there. And this one's firmly in place, not like the other one. So we had the bleachers. I also put a small security update, a change you might note, because last year I had tons of security, starting with our ID badges and other machines where kids check in or tap in, all of that. All that's done. But basically the change this year, we went to armed guards, as you know. We had 2 roaming guards, we call them. We had them before we had the armed guards. But the problem was, one of them, the best one out of the 2, got a great job. And so we were getting a replacement, a new guy every week that we didn't know, had to look for him. It became we weren't satisfied like they once were. And dealing with 2 security companies, one unarmed, one armed, it became easier dealing with one company. And that's the armed company. So instead of the 2 roaming guys, we have 1 extra armed guard who will do the roaming. So in essence, we now have 5 armed guards in the district.
Gordon, before we leave this, can I comment a little bit on the project that's going on out there?
Sure.
The picture shows the replacement of the bleachers. What's driving this also is our bleachers were not ADA compliant. What this has done is allow us, you don't see it in the picture because that's actually a facsimile. To what would be the bleachers stage left would be a ramp, and that will allow anyone who finds the stairs a little cumbersome can come right up. The difference also is that there are multiple places where our students or guests who are either need to or are in a wheelchair can see the game right from where everybody else is seeing the game. So they can get right up there. The work also is involving, because we negotiated back and forth with the company, is that we were able to find a lower bid, a lower price, still get most of what we wanted, plus what's not seen on either side of this depiction is the improvement on the bleacher side that would be towards the middle school. The drainage problem was addressed because we tore everything out. There will be a walk that still has to be put in behind the bleachers that will connect from the concession stand all the way behind to the track and field events and the sidewalks that border the middle school, so that if someone wanted to park in the middle school parking lot, it's all flat. If you ever tried to go up the high school parking lot, it's actually a hill. So that might be a different option for our guests who might need a little more assistance or find it easier to get to and from. That's all in process because they haven't finished the bleachers. The stuff behind it they haven't finished, but the hard work of the drainage system that was, I don't know if you ever walked on that side, you would sink down to your knees. It's a clay table. We had to put in huge cesspool systems to drain it out. There'll be some new fencing done, but that will complete the whole process that everyone is welcome to whatever events we hold there. And it's easy to get back and forth, whether you're walking or on some other means. And that was accomplished for the original amount was close to $700,000. We were able to do almost twice as much work based on all the work that they did with the negotiations that Scott Ray did in terms of getting us a better price on the bleachers that are now ADA compliant.
Thanks, Bob. Bob, ADH compliant, was a great segue to this next slide. Those of you who ever visited DO realize there were never any railings at all. And we finally got them. And all the way back to when, all the way back to when Pete went to school through that front door.
1972.
In kindergarten, they didn't have the railings. And then they redid the ramp and the railings in front of the elementary school as well. And this summer, you heard it last year, 1/3 of the roof. This is the second third of the roof that was repaired. And you'll see a cut through on the, in the parking lot now, so it's easier to get through the lanes. There's not as much of a conflict in the parking lot. And that was a good move, and I think that was designed by Scott and Bob to help that traffic flow in the middle of the parking lot. So a lot was going on this summer. So hear me now, though, there's 1/3 of the roof that is yet to be done. But we hope to keep the capital reserves moving forward. Good stuff as well as the work getting done. You could, if you were here with me in May, you saw a list of colleges. Well, the reason why I like to brag about this is the list is long, and if you look at them, we have more kids attending Ivy League schools now than ever. And if you look at those schools, it's pretty amazing where our kids are going. MIT, Brown, Columbia, Carnegie Mellon, NYU, Emerson, all the way down, Bucknell, Rensselaer Polytech, Rutgers. It's just amazing how impressive our kids are. Gets better every year. A little more bragging, there'll be an extensive report like there is every fall on AP exams, assessments, and regents. But just to show you a quick glimpse, because I'm going to show some of these to the faculty on Tuesday. And the way I look at it is, sure, that happens in high school, and no offense to them. But all of our teachers, from elementary, middle school up, are responsible for these great grades and where these kids go to school. Granted, a lot of them are very smart and talented, and their parents, there's a great district, motivate their kids. But there are teachers, and teachers will hear them speak about, kids speak about those teachers who inspired them next Tuesday. I do it every year. I bring them in to talk about what makes a great teacher, what teachers inspired you here in Mount Sinai. And the teachers love hearing about that. But this is a middle school, elementary school, high school effort to get the Regents results we get, and we're extremely proud of it. Particularly, the science is strong, chemistry again, but look at the leap in physics, if I could point it out. 96% versus 89 last year. And then if you look at the mastery rate from 45 to 65, it's pretty amazing. And then our math department is a great one, as we know. Algebra is still strong. Algebra 2, 100%. A lot of my friends in other districts don't have that. And particularly, because a lot of us are concerned about it, the directors, the board, myself, about geometry, and look at what they did. We went from 90% to 96%, and that's, any superintendent, any principal will tell you that's the toughest read that's out there right now, is geometry. And the mastery rate went up to 12 points. So we're pretty proud of where our Regents exams are, very proud. And they're one of the factors into this next piece, which is the New York State. Now, you've heard me talk about the last 5 years, the fact that the high school was a reward school. It was in the paper. Remember, we got recognized as one of the best schools in America. We're the one of 6 on Long Island that was named a reward school 4 years in a row. Last year, we were a recognition school, and this year, we're a recognition school. So, in essence, 6 years in a row, we were a reward school or recognition school.
What's the difference?
They made it a little softer so more schools could get this title. It's not just guys like us.
Okay.
It's what the state does. They water the exams down, they water us down. But we're proud of it. They don't even talk about 6 years in a row. And again, like the Regents, I'll say this is our elementary, this is our middle school, and our high school effort as a team to achieve this, and we're very proud of it. So, we're going to keep it going. Right, Pete? We're going to keep it going. And again, it's a year behind. So it wasn't 18, 19, it's a year before. The state is always 1 year back. But 6 years is pretty incredible of what we've achieved. So I purposely wanted to leave on a high note with that. And again, thank the community for your patience and understanding through the summer. It's one we'll all never forget. But we all move forward. So we have people in new positions. We will give them our support, and they'll prove that they are worth these efforts and show us what they can do. And I'll support them the best I can, and we'll all support them. Yes?
With the hiring, I noticed you hired 2 new high schools.
I really can't hear you.
I noticed you hired 2 new high school science teachers.
Yes.
Did they replace teachers?
No, they retired.
Did Dr. DiNapoli retire?
Not yet. He's coming up. 2 years.
Oh,
So, he'll retire. This was Glynis, now Ritter, and Lisa Moran. Okay, thank you.
Ken still has the light on, so I can always believe that you're still out there. Any other questions on the agenda that you'd like to present to the board? Good. Let's move on to 5, personnel. Ed, everyone changed seats here, so if you see me keep looking over, we've all switched seats.
That's what the sign was.
Yeah. Ed, resignations?
Resignation, physical education teacher. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Brandon Loomis, physical education teacher, effective August 27th, 2019.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments? Good luck to Brandon. All in favor? Ed, would you continue?
Resignation, school district aide. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Linda Ludiker, school district aide, August 1st, 2019.
Second.
Thank you, Rob. Any comments? All in favor? Number 3, Ed?
Resignation, school district aide. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Kelly Pennington, school district aide, effective August 1st, 2019.
Second.
Thank you, Rob. Any comments? All in favor? And Ed, 4?
Resignation, school district aide. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Angela Lorandini, school district aide, effective August 1st, 2019.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Anne Marie. Any comments? In favor? I'll just stop as a general comment for our school district aides, those who are leaving us, those who are with us. They are often the voices that you hear, the ones who take care of your children. They do yeoman's work. They are very much appreciated by this district, by this board. They're often members of the community, and we thank them every day for all the good things they do to take care of our children. Just my personal add. Administrative appointments, B. Anne Marie.
Acting high school principal, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby appoints Peter Primateris as acting high school principal, effective August 23rd, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, pursuant to the terms of the memorandum of agreement dated August 23rd, 2019, and executed by Board President Sweeney.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments? All in favor? Thank you, Peter. Number 2, acting middle school.
Acting middle school principal, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby appoints Elizabeth Heim as acting middle school principal, effective August 23rd, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, pursuant to the terms of the memorandum of agreement dated August 23rd, 2019, and executed by Board President Sweeney.
I second.
Thank you. Any comments? All in favor? Thank you, Liz. 3, we'll wrap that up.
Elementary school assistant principal, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby appoints Brady McCarthy as elementary school assistant principal at a per diem rate of $600 a day, effective August 27th, 2019, and is to serve at the pleasure of the board.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor? Steve, C.
Instructional appointments. 1, physical education teacher part-time. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approve the following part-time appointment. Michael Comer, appointment date August 28th, 2019, area physical education at a step A BA .6 position with an initial certification.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor?
Number 2, substitute teachers. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following appointments. Laura Gills, September 4th, 2019, start date as a substitute teacher at a compensation rate of $111 per day. Heather Sager, September 4th, 2019, substitute teacher at $111 per day.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rob. Any comments? All in favor? Rob, non-instructional appointments, please.
Non-instructional appointments. Network and systems technician. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following appointment. Orrin Fessler. Appointment date August 29th, 2019. Area network and systems technician. Compensation step 1, non-instructional contract.
Thank you, Steve. Any comments? All in favor? We'll continue on with that. Number 2, Rob?
Substitute custodian. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following appointment. Anthony Sabatino, appointment date September 4th, 2019. Area substitute custodian, compensation $14 an hour.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Any comments? All in favor? We'll wrap that up. Number 3, Rob?
School district aides, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following appointment. Anna Marie Valente, appointment date, August 28, 2019, area aide, current sub-aide, compensation step 2. Edie Marie Lupo, August 28, 2019, area aide, current sub-aide, compensation step 2.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any comments? All in favor? Pete, back to you. Other appointments?
Other appointments. Number 1, coaches. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following appointments. Dan Tappan replacing John Meads, August 28, 2019, varsity boys golf, step 1. Megan Wazalowski,
Say as listed.
as listed. As listed.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Number 2, elementary school club advisors, Pete?
Number 2, elementary school club advisors. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby authorizes the following elementary school co-curricular clubs and appoints the person listed below as advisors for the 2019-20 school year as listed.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor? We've got a bunch of these.
Sure.
I'll skip over. You want to do one more?
I'll go.
Go ahead.
All right. Number 3, middle school club advisors. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby authorizes the following middle school co-curricular clubs and appoints the persons listed below as advisors for the 2019 school year as listed.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ed. Any comments? All in favor? Let's skip over to Anne Marie, number 4.
High school club advisors, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby authorizes the following high school co-curricular clubs and appoints the persons listed below as advisors for the 2019-20 school year as listed.
Thank you, Steve. Any comments? All in favor? Let's skip that. Ed, would you please do action items?
Action items, educational, Committee on Special Education. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education has no objections to the following special education recommendations and approves the authorization for the funds to implement the special education programs and services consistent with such as listed.
May I have a second? Thank you. All in favor? B. John, Dignity Act coordinators.
Dignity Act coordinators. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby appoints the following individuals as Dignity Act coordinators for the 2019-20 school year. Elementary school, Brian McCarthy. Middle school, Chris Heil. High school, Matt Dyroff and Frank LaBianca.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any comments? All in favor? B. I should do that.
Action items business, renaming of high school. Resolved upon the recommendation. Resolved, the Board of Education hereby renames the high school to be known as Robert M. Grable Jr., Mount Sinai High School.
I'll second that.
Good. All in favor? B, free and reduced price meals. Ed,
Free and reduced price meals. Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby complies with the federal SED policy requirements for the administration of free and reduced price meals for the 2019-20 school year.
second. Thank you, Steve. Any comments? All in favor? Obsolete items. Anne Marie?
It's resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby declares the following items as obsolete and authorizes disposal as listed.
We have a second.
I second.
Thank you. Any comments? All in favor? D, claims order report. Steve?
Resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby acknowledges the claims audit report submitted to the board on June 19th, 2019.
May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. That Rachel seconded that. Any comments? All in favor? Budget transfer, Rob.
Budget transfer resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby approves the following budget transfer. From Budget Code A5540.4506 to Budget Code A5540.4505 in the amount of $50,599.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any comments? All in favor? And F, Pete?
F, Capital Reserve Fund, resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education hereby authorizes the appropriation of funds into the established 2018 Capital Reserve account in an amount not to exceed $2 million to be derived from the district's unassigned fund balance.
May I have a second?
Second.
Peter? Any comments? This is how we are using existing fund balance to continue the improvements that we're doing out. It's money that we have already collected without the need of a bond, and continuing our process of meeting some of the maintenance requirements of the school district. All in favor? G, where are they going? Yours? Ed? Ed, G, extra classroom activity fund.
Extra Classroom Activity Fund. Resolved, the Board of Education hereby amends the motion approved at the July 1, 2019 reorganization regular meeting as follows. The Board of Education hereby appoints the following persons as officers of the Extra Classroom Activity Fund for the 2019-20 fiscal year. The signatures required for this fund will be the central treasurer and the high school principal or the middle school principal. Central treasurer, Maureen Corio. High school chief faculty counselor, Peter Primateris. Middle school chief faculty counselor, Elizabeth Hine.
I second.
Thank you. Any comments? All in favor? Finally, Ed, attendance officers.
Attendance officers. Resolved, the Board of Education hereby amends the motion approved at the July 1st, 2019 reorganization regular meeting as follows. The Board of Education hereby appoints Rob Catlin, elementary school principal, Elizabeth Hine, acting middle school principal, and Peter Primateris, acting high school principal, as attendance officers for the fiscal year 2019-20.
Thank you, Steve. Any comments? All in favor? Before we go into general questions, I'd just like to, on behalf of the board, thank all of the administrators who worked diligently over the past 5 or 6 weeks, outside of their, what you like a better term, job description, to make sure that everything was in place for our students. The guidance counselors worked very hard to make sure everything was squared up and put together. And if you had the opportunity, you've come into the high school, seen how it looks. Our custodial staff has worked extraordinarily hard to bring the buildings up. They're immaculate, they look beautiful, the grounds look great. They work hard every day, and I wanted to extend our thanks to them and our staff. I had the pleasure of touring the facilities with Scott earlier last week, and was very pleased to see how far we've come along, how the buildings look, how it's all set up, and thank everyone for that. Got to see some of the teachers come in with their children to setting up their rooms. I think it's some form of indentured servitude because they're there helping out, but thank you so much. And the buildings are all ready, and we're ready for a great year, and I look forward to it. So thank you to all who really pitched in the past month. Any questions, general comments? Yes, ma'am.
When is the elementary school playground going to be fixed?
We went and looked at that. We've gotten bids. You mean Big Troy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We looked at bids for that. I happened to speak to Scott Ray about that, and the bid they gave us was extraordinarily high. And he's gone back to them to see, is that to replace the whole thing? What are you talking about? So it's on his priority list to see what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and what's what are the options to it? Because what we received was, I'm dating myself, but I think that's what we paid for it to be installed, and I'm not sure where that basis is. So it's on his list to look at. That was a big deal, go to Big Tour, from the little one up to Big Tour, that's a big deal. Any other questions? May I take a motion to adjourn?
Wait,
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I was waiting for someone else. I had a question about kindergarten class size. And my son starts kindergarten on Wednesday, so I'm new to this. But I heard from other people that they had decided to, it had been decided to cut the kindergarten aides because the class size was going to be dramatically reduced. But last year, one of my friends had 23 students in her kindergarten class with an aide here, and my son is starting kindergarten with she had 23, and he's starting with 22. So I just didn't know if there's a number, if it starts creeping back up, are we bringing aides back? Or is there a number that we're considering low? I don't know. That was,
Right now, we have 112 kindergartners, and just to check our numbers, we have 5 sections. So if you do the math, that's 22,
yeah.
23 students, correct?
Not 5 sections. Somewhere or another.
Right. So within that limit, we don't need the aides.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we met with the principal about it. With that class size, we don't need the aides.
Okay. I guess I'm just saying you had aides in the past, and the class sizes were similar, so that's why I was just confused.
Well, the aides that we do have, the 5th grade, we had an unexpected surge with students where we are over the limit, and we're using the aides in the 1st grade.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, my other question was about the playground also. I was going to mention those 2 things.
Yep.
And my other question was about kindergarten.
Let's look at it. Come back.
Because in other districts, in the district that I teach in, all the kindergarten class sizes are 16, 17 without an aide. And in other districts that I know of, the class sizes are around 24 with an aide. The low 20s, and they usually have an aide. So it's just, it was a concern of mine because I thought he would be in a class with like 16 kids since we dropped the aides. So that was just,
Any other questions? I'll take the motion to adjourn, and thank you all for tonight. All in favor?
I second.